6 months of power, 6 months of purpose, 6 months of finally mattering. Amanda Wheels thought she'd found her answer at 69, the surge that transformed an invisible widow into a mafia strategist, a revolution that gave dismissed women their bite back. She'd killed for it, bled for it, burned her old life to ashes for it. But what happens when the thing that saved you starts consuming you from the inside out? What happens when being dangerous becomes more addictive than being alive? What happens when a 69-year-old woman who learned to surge forward discovers that some prices aren't paid in blood, they're paid in pieces of your soul you didn't know you still had? This is part 2 of Amanda's story. Before the story continues, let me say this: if any of these stories comfort you, entertain you, or make you feel understood, please subscribe. It's free, but it means everything to this channel. Now, let's continue. The nightmare always started the same way. Amanda stood in her old apartment, the one she'd weaponized 6 months ago, except now it was empty. Not just of Timon's equipment and Mincio's computers, empty of everything, bare walls, bare floors, the kind of emptiness that screamed abandonment rather than minimalism. She walked through rooms that felt simultaneously familiar and foreign, searching for something she couldn't name. Her reflection in the window showed a woman she didn't recognize, not the invisible widow she'd been, but not quite the dangerous strategist she'd become either. Something in between. Something unfinished. Then she heard them. Voices from the bedroom, children's voices. Amanda's heart seized. Her grandchildren. She hadn't seen them in 7 months, not since Michelle had chosen distance over understanding. She moved toward the sound, hope and dread warring in her chest. The bedroom door opened to reveal not her grandchildren, but corpses. 4 of them. The people she'd killed, the Bayek enforcer at the club, the woman at their headquarters, 2 others whose faces she'd tried to forget. They sat around her old kitchen table like dinner guests, their dead eyes tracking her movements. "You did this," the first one said, his voice wet and wrong. "You chose this." "I had to," Amanda heard herself say. "I had to matter." "Did you?" the woman asked, tilting her head at an angle necks shouldn't bend. "Or did you just want an excuse to stop pretending to be good?" Amanda tried to speak, to defend herself, but her mouth filled with something thick and choking. When she looked down, blood poured from her palms, not from wounds but from her skin itself, like she was bleeding from the inside out. "The surge has a price," the corpses said in unison, "and you haven't finished paying it." She woke gasping, sweat-soaked sheets tangled around her legs, Timon's hand on her shoulder. Another nightmare? "The same one." Amanda sat up, forcing her breathing to steady. Through the penthouse windows, Soul's lights blurred into abstract patterns. 4:30 a.m. She'd managed 3 hours this time. Progress, maybe. "That's 5 nights in a row." Timon's voice carried concern without judgment. "You should talk to someone." "Like who?" "A therapist?" Amanda laughed, sharp and bitter. "Hi, I'm a 69-year-old woman who runs criminal operations, and I'm having nightmares about the people I've killed. Can you help me process my feelings without reporting me to the police?" "I'm serious, Amanda." "So am I." She stood, wrapping herself in a silk robe that cost more than her old monthly pension. "The nightmares are just my brain processing stress. They'll pass." "Will they?" Timon watched her with eyes that had seen too much to be fooled by deflection. "Because you've been different lately, more aggressive in operations, taking risks you wouldn't have taken 3 months ago. Mincio's noticed. Hyun-woo's noticed. I'm fine. You're not sleeping. You're barely eating. Yesterday, you approved an operation that would have resulted in civilian casualties if Mincio hadn't caught the planning flaw." He moved closer. "That's not fine. That's not you." Amanda felt anger flash, hot and defensive. Maybe this is me. Maybe the person who gave a damn about civilian casualties was the invisible widow, and I'm done being her. Or maybe the surge is burning too hot and you need to throttle back before you destroy yourself. "Don't." Amanda's voice went cold. "Don't you dare suggest I need to slow down. I spent 69 years being told to be less, do less, want less. I'm finally allowed to be more and you want me to pull back? I want you to survive this." Timon's tone softened. "Amanda, I've seen people burn out in this world. The ones who surge too fast, too hard, too long. They don't last. They either self-destruct or become something hollow. I don't want that for you. Then what do you want? I want you to remember why you started this. You came to my club because you wanted to feel alive, not because you wanted to become numb through violence." The words hit harder than Amanda wanted to admit. She turned away, looking out at Soul's pre-dawn darkness. "I'm not numb. Aren't you? When was the last time you felt something other than tactical satisfaction or adrenaline?" Amanda wanted to argue, to prove him wrong, but her mind came up empty. When had she last laughed? Really laughed, not the sharp, bitter sounds that passed for humor lately? When had she last felt anything that wasn't related to operations, strategy, power? I feel things, she said quietly. Like what? Like, Amanda searched for truth. Not like I'm terrified that if I slow down, if I stop surging forward, I'll realize I've become exactly what Sunwoo accused me of being. A 69-year-old woman playing at being dangerous instead of actually living. You're not playing. Then why do the nightmares keep getting worse? The confession burst out before she could stop it. Why do I wake up every night seeing the people I've killed, hearing them tell me the surge is just another cage, just another way to disappear, except this time into violence instead of invisibility? Timon pulled her close, his arms solid and grounding. Because you're human. Because killing costs something even when it's necessary. Because the surge that saved you is also changing you, and you're smart enough to know that not all changes are improvements. Amanda let herself lean into him, feeling something crack in her chest, not breaking, but opening. I don't know how to do this, how to be powerful without becoming a monster, how to stay alive in this world without losing the parts of me that make being alive worth it. You figure it out, together. He kissed the top of her head. But first, you sleep. Real sleep. I'm canceling today's operations review. Tamen, non-negotiable. Minseo can handle it. You need rest. Amanda wanted to protest, to insist she was fine, but exhaustion crashed over her like a wave. When had she last let herself be tired? Let herself need something other than purpose and power? Okay, she whispered. Just today. Just today, Tamen agreed, leading her back to bed. But as Amanda drifted into uneasy sleep, she knew it was a lie. To eat one day of rest wouldn't fix what was breaking inside her. One day wouldn't erase the nightmares or quiet the voices asking if the surge had saved her or just given her a more dramatic way to die. One day wouldn't answer the question she was too afraid to ask aloud. What if the revolution she'd started was consuming her faster than it was freeing her? Amanda woke to afternoon sunlight and Minseo sitting in the bedroom's reading chair, laptop balanced on her knees. You look like hell, Minseo said without preamble. Good afternoon to you too. Amanda sat up, noting the water and pills on the nightstand. Headache medicine, probably left by Taimin. How long have you been here? 20 minutes. Taimin asked me to check on you. Minseo's expression was unreadable. He's worried. I'm worried. Everyone's worried except apparently you. I'm fine. You keep saying that. It keeps being bullshit. Minseo set aside the laptop. Amanda, I've worked in this world for 8 years. I've seen what happens to people who push too hard. You're showing all the signs. Signs of what? Burnout, dissociation, moral injury. Minseo ticked them off on her fingers. You're sleeping less, eating less, taking bigger risks with less payoff. Your strategic thinking is still sharp, but your emotional regulation is shot. Yesterday you screamed at Hyunwoo for questioning a timeline. You've never done that before. Amanda barely remembered the incident. He was being overly cautious. He was doing his job, and you bit his head off because you're running on fumes and refusing to admit it. Minseo leaned forward. I'm not saying this to attack you. I'm saying it because I care about you, because watching you self-destruct is painful. I'm not self-destructing. I'm building something. We're building something. At what cost? Minseo's voice gentled. Amanda, the Surge program is incredible. 20 women who were invisible now have purpose and power, but you're burning yourself out trying to be everything to everyone. Strategist, mentor, revolutionary, partner to Taimin. You can't sustain that. I have to. They need me. They need you alive and functional, not running yourself into the ground. Minseo stood, moved to sit on the bed's edge. When was the last time you did something just for yourself? Not for the empire, not for the revolution, not to prove you matter, just for you. Amanda opened her mouth to answer and couldn't. Every moment of the past 6 months had been about forward momentum, about surging past the invisible woman she'd been. She'd defined herself entirely through utility. How she could help Tamin, how she could mentor the Surge women, how she could strategize their expansion. When had she last done something simply because it brought her joy? I don't remember, she admitted. That's a problem. Minseo's tone was matter of fact. You can't sustain a revolution on obligation and adrenaline. Eventually, the well runs dry. So what do you suggest? Take a break, real time off, not just one canceled meeting. Let Taimin and me handle operations for a week. You rest. Actually rest. Read a book. Take walks. Remember who Amanda Wheels is when she's not being strategic or dangerous. The suggestion felt both appealing and terrifying. What if I don't know who that person is anymore? Then you figure it out. But you can't figure it out while you're running at full speed. Mincio squeezed her hand. The surge saved you, Amanda. Don't let it kill you. After Mincio left, Amanda sat in the penthouse's vast silence and thought about being saved versus being killed. The line between them felt thinner than she'd like to admit. Her phone buzzed. Not the encrypted one, her old phone, the one she'd kept despite having no reason to. A text from a number she didn't recognize. Mom, it's Daniel. Michelle gave me your number. Can we talk? Daniel, her youngest son. She hadn't spoken to him in 8 months, not since before Seoul, before Timon, before everything. Her hands shook as she typed back, When? Now? I'm in Seoul, business trip. Didn't know you were here until Michelle told me. The universe had a sick sense of timing. Amanda looked at herself in the bedroom mirror. Expensive robe, penthouse suite, the faint circles under her eyes that spoke of nightmares and choices. What would Daniel see when he looked at her? His mother or a stranger? Where? She texted. There's a cafe in Ida 1, Cafe Mama's. I can be there in an hour. Amanda should have said no. Should have maintained distance, kept her old life and new life separated. But something in her, some part that was still the mother who'd raised 3 children on determination and love, couldn't refuse. I'll be there, she typed. Then she got dressed, choosing clothes that straddled worlds. Expensive but not flashy, elegant but not threatening. She looked like a woman who'd done well for herself, and not a woman who ran criminal operations. The lie felt heavier than her gun. Cafe Mama's was crowded with Seoul's international crowd, expats and tourists and business travelers. Amanda spotted Daniel immediately, her chest constricting with recognition. He looked like his father, all strong jaw and kind eyes, except those eyes were wary now as they tracked her approach. Mom, he stood, awkward, unsure whether to hug or shake hands. Amanda made the decision for him, pulling him into an embrace. He stiffened, then relaxed, and for a moment they were just mother and son, not widow and distant child, not criminal and civilian, just family. You look good, Daniel said when they separated. Different, but good. Thank you. Amanda sat, accepting tea from a hovering server. Michelle told you I was in Seoul? She said you'd changed, that you were doing something she didn't understand. Daniel studied her face. She sounded scared, Mom. Scared for you. Michelle doesn't understand because she never asked what I needed. She decided what I should be and got upset when I became something else. The words came out harsher than Amanda intended. She softened her tone. I'm sorry. That's not fair. Your sister loves me. She just loves the version of me that fits her expectations. And you don't fit them anymore. No, I don't. Amanda met his gaze directly. Daniel, I'm going to be honest with you because you deserve that. I've changed. Dramatically. I'm doing things your father would never have approved of, things Michelle finds incomprehensible. But I'm also more alive than I've been in 17 years. What kind of things? Amanda considered her words carefully. I'm in a relationship with someone powerful, someone who moves in circles that are complicated. I've become part of his world. That world involves risk and moral ambiguity and choices that would horrify the mother you remember. Are you in danger? The concern in his voice cracked something in Amanda's chest. Sometimes, but I'm also protected. Powerful in my own right. I'm not a victim, Daniel. I'm a participant. Michelle said you told her you've killed people. He said it quietly, watching her reaction. Amanda didn't flinch. I have. Jesus, Mom. I'm not asking you to condone it or understand it. I'm just being honest. She leaned forward. For 69 years, I made myself acceptable, safe, harmless. I disappeared into what people needed me to be. Then I came to Seoul and met someone who saw me as powerful instead of pitiable. Something exploded inside me. I discovered I'd been accumulating capability and intelligence and survival instinct for 69 years, and suddenly I had permission to use it. So you became a criminal? I became authentic. Amanda held his gaze. The woman who raised you was real. She loved you and your siblings with everything she had, but she was also incomplete. Parts of me I suppressed to be a good wife, good mother, good invisible widow. Those parts demanded release. By killing people? By refusing to keep pretending I was harmless when I'm not. By accepting that 69 years of surviving Detroit poverty and spousal neglect and financial ruin and your father's slow death made me dangerous, not weak. By finally using that danger instead of hiding it. Daniel was quiet for a long time. Then, are you happy? The question surprised her. That's what you want to know? Not whether I'm going to jail or hell? I want to know if whatever you've done has been worth it. His eyes were pained. Because Michelle thinks you've lost your mind. Dad would have been horrified. Your grandchildren ask about you and I don't know what to say. So I need to know, are you happy? Is this worth losing us? Amanda felt tears threatening. Not the easy tears of sentiment, but the hard ones of truth. I'm not happy, I'm alive. There's a difference. Happy is comfortable. What I am now is vital and urgent and terrifying. I wake up every morning with purpose instead of dread. I go to sleep knowing I mattered that day. But happiness? Oh, I don't know if I'm capable of happiness anymore. I think I traded it for significance. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard you say. Maybe, but it's honest. Amanda reached across the table, took his hand. Daniel, I love you. I love all my children, but I can't go back to being the woman you needed me to be. That woman was suffocating. I had to choose between dying slowly in a nursing home or exploding into something dangerous. I chose the explosion. And we're just collateral damage? You're people I love who can't understand choices I made to survive. She squeezed his hand. I'm not asking you to be part of this life. I'm just asking you to acknowledge I have the right to choose it. Daniel pulled his hand back. I can't do that, Mom. I can't watch you destroy yourself and call it liberation. I'm not destroying myself. Aren't you? He gestured at her. You look exhausted. Michelle showed me articles about gang violence in Seoul. Is that your life now? Violence and danger and moral compromise? Yes? Then you are destroying yourself, just in a more dramatic way than fading away in a nursing home. Daniel stood. I came here hoping Michelle was wrong, hoping my mother was just having some late-life crisis that would pass. But you're gone, aren't you? The woman who raised me is gone, and this stranger is all that's left. The words cut deeper than any bullet. Daniel, I hope you find what you're looking for, Mom. I really do, but I can't watch you do it. He pulled out his wallet, dropped cash on the table. Take care of yourself. Or don't. I guess it's not my choice anymore. He left. Amanda sat in the crowded cafe surrounded by strangers, feeling more alone than she'd felt in 6 months. The surge had given her power, purpose, revolution, but it had cost her her children. All of them, apparently. Michelle chose distance. Daniel chose rejection. And Amanda sat in the wreckage of those relationships, wondering if Minseo and Tai Min were right, wondering if the surge was killing her after all, just slowly, just in ways that didn't leave visible scars. She paid for the tea and walked back to the penthouse in afternoon sunlight that felt mocking. Beautiful day, terrible realizations. Tai Min found her on the balcony an hour later, staring at nothing. Minseo said you went out. I met my son, Daniel, and he was in Seoul for business. How did it go? He thinks I'm destroying myself. Michelle thinks I've lost my mind. My grandchildren don't know me, and I'm starting to wonder if they're all right. Amanda turned to face him. What if the surge is just another way to disappear? Instead of fading into invisibility, I'm disappearing into violence and power and moral compromise. Different cage, same result. You're not in a cage. No? Then why do I feel trapped? Why do I wake up every night with nightmares and go through every day on autopilot, just surging forward because stopping means facing what I've become? Her voice cracked. Tai Min, I chose this. I chose power over family, significance over happiness, revolution over peace. But what if I chose wrong? You didn't choose wrong. You chose differently. It doesn't feel different. It feels like I traded one form of self-destruction for another. At least the old Amanda was harmless. The old Amanda was dying. Tai Min moved closer. I watched you that first night. You were so hungry to matter, so desperate to be seen. The surge didn't destroy you. It saved you. Did it? Or did it just make the destruction more interesting? Amanda felt something breaking inside her. I've killed 4 people, ordered the execution of a 5th, built an empire on violence and moral ambiguity, alienated my entire family. And for what? So I can wake up every morning feeling vital instead of irrelevant? That's not salvation. That's just... She struggled for words. It's just a more dramatic form of suicide. Amanda, no, let me finish. She took a shaking breath. You asked when I last felt something other than tactical satisfaction or adrenaline. The answer is right now. I feel grief. For the woman I was and the woman I could have been. For relationships I destroyed and innocence I can't reclaim. For 69 years of accumulated life that I'm burning through like fuel to keep the surge going. Then stop. I can't. The admission hurt. That's the problem. I'm addicted to this, to mattering, to being powerful, to the surge itself. Stopping means going back to invisibility, and I'd rather die than be invisible again. So don't go back. Go forward differently. How? By remembering why you started this. Tai Min took her hands. You came to my club wanting to feel alive, not wanting to become numb through violence, not wanting to build an empire. Just wanting one night where you mattered. You've built that into something incredible. But somewhere along the way, you forgot to actually live. You've been so focused on not being invisible that you've made yourself into pure function. All strategy and danger and revolution, no joy or rest or humanity. I don't know how to be human anymore. You're being human right now. grieving, questioning, feeling the weight of choices instead of just making them. He pulled her close. That's not weakness. That's evidence you haven't disappeared into violence. You're still you. Just a version of you that's had to make terrible choices to survive in a terrible world. Amanda let herself cry then. Not pretty tears, but ugly, wrenching sobs that came from somewhere deep. For Daniel's rejection. For Michelle's distance. B, for the mother and grandmother she'd been. For the nightmares and the bodies, and the slow realization that power cost more than she'd anticipated. For the surge that had saved her and might still be killing her. Timon held her through it, solid and unwavering. When the tears finally stopped, Amanda felt hollowed out, but clearer. I need help. I know. Not just rest, real help. I need to figure out how to be powerful without being monstrous, how to matter without disappearing into mattering, how to sustain this revolution without it consuming me. Then we'll figure it out, together. Timon wiped her face gently. But Amanda, you need to accept something first. What? That you're not superhuman, that 69 years of accumulated capability doesn't mean you're invulnerable, that the surge that saved you also made you vulnerable in new ways. His voice was gentle but firm. You can be powerful and wounded, dangerous and grieving, revolutionary and human. Those things aren't contradictions. They feel like contradictions, because you're used to being either or, either invisible or vital, either harmless or dangerous. But real life is both and. You can be the woman who runs criminal operations and the woman who misses her grandchildren, the strategist who orders executions and the mother who grieves lost relationships. How do I do that without losing myself to guilt? By accepting that some guilt is appropriate, that the surge came with a price and you're paying it. That being uncomfortable with what you've become is actually evidence you're still the person worth saving. Timon met her eyes. Amanda, the fact that you're questioning this, that you're having nightmares and feeling grief, that means you're not a monster. Monsters don't question themselves. Amanda wanted to believe that, wanted to think the nightmares and the grief and the terrible weight of choices meant she was still human. Still Amanda. Just a version of Amanda who'd had to do terrible things. What if I can't sustain this? She asked quietly. What if the surge burns out and I'm left with nothing but ashes? Then we rebuild from the ashes. But Amanda, I don't think you're burning out. I think you're burning away everything except what's essential. It's painful. It's supposed to be. But what's left when the burning's done will be stronger than what you started with. Or it'll be nothing. It won't be nothing. You're too stubborn for that. He smiled slightly. You're 69 years old and you conquered Soul's underworld in 6 months. You built a revolution from scratch. You turned invisibility into a weapon. Someone capable of that doesn't burn down to nothing. Someone capable of that might burn down to something worse than nothing. Then we make sure that doesn't happen. Tamon's voice was absolute. You're not doing this alone anymore. You have me. You have Minseo. You have 20 women who see you as a savior. You have an empire that needs you functional, not self-destructing. We'll figure this out. Amanda leaned into him, feeling exhausted and raw and somehow lighter. I'm tired, Timon. So tired. I know. Not just physically. Tired of being strong. Tired of surging forward. He's tired of pretending I'm not terrified I've made a terrible mistake. Then stop pretending. Be tired. Be scared. Be human. He kissed her forehead. The surge doesn't require you to be invulnerable. It just requires you to be honest. What if honest means admitting I don't know if this was worth it? Then admit that. Sit with it. Figure out what comes next. Timon pulled back to look at her. Amanda, you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to keep moving forward, even if that forward is slower, even if it includes rest and grief and questioning. Forward doesn't have to mean fast. The word settled into Amanda like medicine, bitter but necessary. She'd been so focused on surging forward at maximum speed that she'd forgotten forward could include pause, could include reflection, could include the messy, painful work of integrating who she'd been with, who she'd become. I need time, she said finally, real time, to figure out who I am when I'm not in crisis mode. You'll have it. Minseo and I can handle operations. The surge program can run without you for a while. You rest. Actually rest. Not sleeping between nightmares, but real restoration. What if I don't know how? Then you learn, just like you learned everything else. Timon stood, offered his hand. Come on. First step is eating something. When did you last have a real meal? Amanda couldn't remember. Yesterday? Try 3 days ago. Minzio's been tracking. He led her inside. We're starting with the basics. Food, sleep, time that isn't optimized for productivity. Then we work up to the harder stuff like processing grief and figuring out sustainable revolution. Despite everything, Amanda laughed, small and surprised. You make it sound so simple. It's not simple, but it's necessary. He started pulling ingredients from the kitchen. And Amanda, you're allowed to need help. You're allowed to not have all the answers. You're allowed to be in process instead of already transformed. The surge doesn't wait for process. Then maybe the surge needs to learn patience. Timon began chopping vegetables with practiced efficiency. Or maybe the surge is bigger than you thought. Maybe it includes the slow, painful work of integration. Maybe revolution isn't just dramatic transformation, but sustainable change. Amanda sat at the kitchen counter, watching him cook, and felt something shift. Not the explosive energy of the surge, but something quieter, steadier, like roots growing deep instead of fire burning fast. Maybe Timon was right. Maybe the surge wasn't dying. Maybe it was just evolving from wildfire into something that could actually sustain life instead of consuming it. Maybe she wasn't destroying herself. Maybe she was just being reborn more slowly than she'd expected. And maybe that was okay. Amanda spent 3 days doing nothing. It was harder than running criminal operations. The first day, she paced the penthouse like a caged animal, picking up her phone every 15 minutes to check on operations she'd promised not to oversee. Timon confiscated both phones by noon. The second day, she tried reading, books she'd bought months ago and never opened. Her mind skittered across pages, unable to focus. She was always circling back to strategy and danger and all the things she wasn't doing. Mincio showed up with sleeping pills and firm instructions. The third day, Amanda slept 18 hours and woke feeling simultaneously rested and guilty. How could she rest when there was work to do? How could she be still when the surge demanded motion? But by the fourth day, something shifted. She woke without nightmares for the first time in weeks, made herself breakfast, actual food, not just coffee and adrenaline, sat on the balcony and watched Seoul move beneath her without calculating threats or opportunities, just watching, just being. It felt foreign and necessary. Minseo visited that afternoon, carrying a tablet and careful optimism. How are you feeling? Strange, rested but restless. Like I'm supposed to be doing something but can't remember what. That's called not being in crisis mode. Mincio sat across from her. Your body's recalibrating. It'll take time. How's everything? Running smoothly. Timon's handling the Gangnam expansion. The Surge program had their first operation yesterday. Surveillance and intelligence gathering. Park Sun-ja performed beautifully. Amanda felt pride and something like jealousy. They don't need me. They don't need you to micromanage. They absolutely need you to exist. Mincio leaned forward. Amanda, you created something unprecedented. 20 women who were invisible now have purpose and power, but they need you sustainable, not burnt out. A dead or broken revolutionary helps no one. I'm not broken. You were breaking. There's a difference, Minceo's voice gentled. You've been carrying too much alone. The strategy, the mentorship, the emotional labor of revolution, your relationship with Timon, your grief about your family. One person can't sustain all of that indefinitely. So what do? You delegate. You share the weight. You let the revolution be bigger than just you. Mincio pulled up data on her tablet. I've been working on something, a restructuring proposal. Want to see? Amanda nodded, surprised by her own curiosity. Mincio displayed organizational charts. Right now, you're the hub everything connects to. You strategize with Timon, mentor the Surge women, coordinate operations, manage external relationships. It's unsustainable. So I'm proposing we create a leadership council. You, me, Timon, Park Sun-ja, and 2 others. We distribute responsibility. You're still visionary and final decision maker, but you're not carrying everything. That makes me less essential. That makes you sustainable. And Amanda, being less essential in daily operations makes you more essential as leader. You can focus on big picture instead of drowning in logistics. Amanda studied the charts. The logic was sound, but something in her resisted, the part that had been invisible for 69 years and now needed to be indispensable to feel real. What if they realize they don't need me? The question came out smaller than she intended. They'll always need you, just not for everything. Mincio closed the tablet. Amanda, your value isn't in being irreplaceable. It's in having created something that can grow beyond you. That's legacy. That's revolution that actually lasts. It feels like giving up control. It's sharing power. There's a difference. Mincio smiled. Besides, you taught me that. Remember? When you turned your invisibility into a weapon, when you showed me that dismissed people could be the most dangerous, when you proved that 69 years of accumulated wisdom was an asset, not a liability, you created this revolution by sharing power. Now you're just doing it again. Amanda wanted to argue. wanted to insist she needed to maintain control, stay essential, keep surging at maximum intensity. But she was tired. So tired. And maybe Minseo was right. Maybe sustainable revolution required sharing the weight. Okay, she said finally. Show me the full proposal. They spent the next 3 hours restructuring Amanda's role, on creating a leadership council, establishing clear responsibilities, building systems that could function without her constant oversight. It felt like simultaneously losing control and gaining freedom. This won't happen overnight, Minseo warned. Changing organizational structure takes time. But Amanda, this gives you space to breathe, to process, to figure out who you are when you're not in perpetual crisis mode. What if I don't like who that person is? Then you change, but at least you'll know. Minseo stood. The first Leadership Council meeting is tomorrow. We'll present the restructuring proposal to Taimin and Park Sunja. Get buy-in, start implementation next week. After Minseo left, Amanda sat with the proposal and felt something unexpected. Relief. Not the explosive energy of the surge, but something quieter and deeper. Like finally setting down weight she'd been carrying so long she'd forgotten it was heavy. Her phone buzzed. The new one Taman had given her. A message from Park Sunja. Mrs. Wheels, the operation went well. Thank you for teaching us that our age makes us powerful, not pitiful. We're ready for more. Amanda smiled, feeling pride without the desperate need to be involved in every detail. Park Sunja and the others would do incredible things, with or without Amanda's constant oversight. That should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like freedom. The Leadership Council meeting happened in the new headquarters, the former Bayek factory they'd converted into their base. Amanda arrived early, surprised by her own nervousness. She'd faced gunfights with less anxiety than this meeting about organizational structure, but gunfights didn't require vulnerability. This did. Taimin arrived next, followed by Minseo, Park Sunja, and 2 other council members, Hyun Woo representing security, and a woman named Ji Yan, who'd become the Surge program's tactical instructor. Before we start, Amanda said, her voice steadier than she felt, I need to say something. For 6 months, I've been running at maximum intensity, trying to be everything to everyone. It's made me effective but unsustainable. I've been having nightmares, burning out, losing perspective. She met each person's eyes. I need help, not just to sustain operations, but to sustain myself. This meeting is about building structure that lets us all, me included, be human while still being revolutionary. The room was quiet. Then Park Sunja spoke. Mrs. Wheels, you gave us permission to be dangerous. Now, we're giving you permission to be human. We're here. Use us. Something in Amanda's chest cracked open, not breaking, but opening to let in support she'd been too proud or scared to accept. Minseo presented the restructuring proposal, distributing responsibilities, creating redundancy so no one person was essential for daily operations, building systems for decision-making that included consultation but didn't require Amanda's approval for everything. This makes the revolution less dependent on any single person, Minseo concluded, including Amanda. It's more resilient, more sustainable, more likely to survive if something happens to one of us, including if something happens to me, Amanda added quietly. I'm 69. I won't be here forever. This structure ensures the surge outlasts me. We don't like thinking about that, Ji-yeon said carefully, but we need to. Amanda felt clarity settling. I started this revolution to create sustainable power for dismissed people. That sustainability requires planning for my absence, not because I'm planning to leave, but because mortality is real and I'm not invincible. Taman had been quiet, watching. Now he spoke. I support this. Amanda's been carrying too much. This distributes the weight while maintaining her leadership. It's smart strategy and necessary humanity. They spent the next 2 hours working through details. Who handled what, how decisions would flow, what required council consensus versus individual authority. By the end, they had a structure that felt both more robust and more breathable. We implement starting next week, Minseo said. Gradual transition. Amanda remains primary strategist and final authority, but daily operations distribute among all of us. Agreed, Amanda said, feeling lighter than she had in months. After the others left, Park Sunja lingered. Mrs. Wheels, can I ask you something personal? Of course. Do you regret it? The surge, everything you've built, the costs you've paid? Amanda considered the question honestly. I regret the pain I've caused my children. I regret the people I've killed, even though I'd make the same choices again. I regret that being powerful required becoming dangerous in ways that cost me relationships and innocence. She met Park Sunja's gaze. But I don't regret being alive. I don't regret mattering. I don't regret this revolution. The costs were real, but so was the necessity. I'm having nightmares, Park Sun-ja admitted quietly, about the operation. We didn't hurt anyone, but I keep dreaming about what could have happened, what I was willing to do. That's normal. That's human. Amanda reached out, squeezed the older woman's hand. The surge gives us power and purpose, but it doesn't erase conscience. You're supposed to feel the weight of choices. That's how you know you haven't become monstrous. How do you handle it? Honestly, I'm still figuring that out. The nightmares, the guilt, the weight of revolution, I don't have answers. But I'm learning to ask for help, to share the burden, to be human while being powerful. Amanda smiled slightly. We're all learning together. That's what makes this revolutionary instead of just criminal. Park Sun-ja nodded slowly. Thank you for being honest, for not pretending you have all the answers. Having all the answers would make me useless as a leader. Not knowing everything but being willing to figure it out together. That's what makes revolution sustainable. After Park Sun-ja left, Amanda sat alone in the headquarters and thought about sustainability. About revolutions that lasted versus revolutions that burned bright and fast. About being human enough to question herself while being strong enough to keep building. The surge wasn't dying, it was maturing, evolving from explosion into something deeper and more lasting. And she could live with that. Her phone rang, the encrypted one. Unknown number, Amanda answered cautiously. Yes? Mrs. Wheels. The voice was female, educated, cold. My name is Dr. Sarah Chen. I represent certain interests in Seoul and beyond. We need to meet. Regarding? Regarding your revolution, and the consequences you haven't yet considered. Amanda felt ice in her spine. What consequences? Meet me and find out. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. Namsan Tower observation deck. Come alone. I don't take orders from strangers. You do when those strangers have information about your grandchildren. Dr. Chen's voice remained emotionless. Emma, age 12. Michael, age 9. Rebecca, age 6. Such lovely children. It would be unfortunate if your revolution's consequences touched them. Amanda's blood went cold. Wait, if you harm them? I have no intention of harming them. I simply want to ensure you understand the full scope of what you've created. Tomorrow, 3 p.m., alone, or the next time your daughter Michelle checks on the children, she might find some very disturbing information about their grandmother has been shared with their school. The line went dead. Amanda sat frozen, adrenaline and terror warring. Someone was threatening her grandchildren, using them as leverage to force a meeting. This wasn't gang conflict or empire expansion. This was personal in ways she hadn't prepared for. She called Timon immediately. He answered on the second ring. What's wrong? Someone just threatened my grandchildren, demanded I meet them tomorrow alone, or they'll expose my criminal activities to my family and the kids' school. Who? Doctor. It's Sarah Chen. Says she represents certain interests in Seoul. Timon swore viciously. I know that name. She's a fixer. Works for international concerns. If she's involved, this is bigger than local operations. He was already moving. She could hear it. Where's the meet? Namsan Tower, 3 p.m. tomorrow. You're not going alone. She said, I don't care what she said. She threatens your family. She doesn't get to dictate terms. Taemin's voice was steel. We'll have people everywhere, concealed, professional. You'll be covered from every angle. And Amanda? Yes? This isn't your fault. Your grandchildren aren't in danger because you chose power. They're in danger because someone sees you as a threat and is trying to leverage you. We'll handle this. Amanda wanted to believe that, but fear sat cold in her stomach. And she'd thought the costs of the surge were personal, her relationships, her sleep, her conscience. She hadn't considered that her revolution might reach back to touch the innocent. That night, Amanda didn't sleep. She sat on the balcony and thought about Emma, Michael, Rebecca, about their faces in the photos Michelle occasionally shared, about being a grandmother they didn't really know because she'd chosen revolution over family. What if Dr. Chen was right? What if the consequences of the surge extended beyond Amanda to hurt people she'd tried to protect through distance? Min found her there at dawn. You didn't sleep. Couldn't. Keep thinking about the kids. They're safe. I have people watching them. Discreetly. They don't know and won't know, but nothing will touch them. You can't promise that. I can and do. Amanda, you're not doing this alone anymore, remember? That includes protecting your family. He sat beside her. Whatever Dr. Chen wants, we'll handle it together. You're not sacrificing yourself or your revolution because someone made threats. What if she's right? What if I've been so focused on my own transformation that I didn't consider how it affects people I'm trying to protect? Then we deal with it. But Amanda, you can't let fear paralyze you. That's what Chen wants. You immobilized, questioning everything, easy to manipulate. I am questioning everything. Good. Questions mean you're thinking clearly instead of just reacting. But questions don't mean surrender. Timon took her hand. We go to this meeting. We find out what she wants. We assess the threat. Then we neutralize it. Together. Amanda wanted his certainty. It wanted to believe that love and power and good planning could protect everyone she cared about. But she'd seen enough in 6 months to know certainty was luxury this world didn't allow. What if I have to choose? She asked quietly. Between my revolution and my grandchildren's safety? You won't, because we're smarter than whoever sent Chen. Because we have resources and people and the home field advantage. Because you're Amanda fucking Wheels, and you've survived everything for 69 years. This is just another thing to survive. This feels different. Because it's personal. But personal doesn't mean insurmountable. He stood, pulled her up. Come on, we have a meeting to prepare for. Let's show Dr. Chen what happens when she threatens a revolutionary. The preparation was extensive. Timon positioned snipers on nearby buildings. Hyunwoo's team established concealed positions throughout Namsan Tower. Min Seo hacked into the observation deck's security feeds. They created contingency plans for everything from gunfights to hostage situations. Amanda wore a wire, carried her gun, went over scenarios until her responses were automatic, but underneath the preparation, fear sat cold and patient. At 2:45 p.m., Amanda took the cable car up to Namsan Tower. Tourist crowds surrounded her, families and couples oblivious to the violence that might erupt. She felt hyper-aware of every face, every movement, every potential threat. The observation deck was crowded. Amanda scanned for Dr. Chen, wondering what a fixer looked like. Mrs. Wheels. The voice came from her left. Amanda turned. Doctor. Sarah Chen was younger than expected, maybe 40. Western Asian features, dressed in expensive business casual. She looked like a consultant, not a threat, which probably made her more dangerous. Dr. Chen, walk with me. Chen moved toward the windows overlooking Seoul. Amanda followed, feeling Timon's people tracking them, knowing she wasn't alone even though she looked it. You've built something remarkable, Chen said conversationally. 6 months from invisible widow to Mafia strategist. The Surge program revolutionizing how Seoul's underworld operates. It's impressive. Get to the point. The point is that your revolution has attracted attention, not just locally, internationally. Chen looked at her directly. Certain organizations are concerned about what you represent. What do I represent? A template. I'm proof that dismissed people, elderly women specifically, can become powerful players if given resources and permission. You've created a model other organizations in other cities might replicate. That makes you either an asset to be acquired or a threat to be neutralized. Amanda felt ice spreading. Which one am I? That depends on your next choices. Chen pulled out a tablet, showed Amanda photos. Her grandchildren at school, at home, playing, unaware they were being surveilled. I represent a consortium of international interests. We're willing to offer you something, protection for your family in exchange for your cooperation. What kind of cooperation? You expand the Surge program beyond Seoul, beyond Korea. You franchise your model to organizations in Tokyo, Hong Kong, Singapore, San Francisco. You become the face of a global movement empowering elderly women. In exchange, your grandchildren live safely, unaware of your operations. Your children never learn details of your criminal activities. You get to be revolutionary and grandmother. And if I refuse? Then my employers ensure your family learns everything, your criminal activities, the people you've killed, your relationship with Timon. Evidence so comprehensive that Michelle will have no choice but to report you to authorities. You'll face prosecution. Your grandchildren will know their grandmother is a murderer. The Surge program collapses as you fight legal battles. Chen's voice remained emotionless. Or you cooperate, and everyone wins. Amanda felt fury and fear warring. This is extortion. This is business. We have something you want. Your family's peace and safety. You have something we want. Your revolutionary model. We're proposing a trade. I need time to think. You have 24 hours. Tomorrow, same time, same place. You give me your answer. Chen tucked away the tablet. Mrs. Wheels, I'm not your enemy. I'm offering you a way to have everything. Power, family, legacy, safety. Most people don't get that choice. Consider carefully. Chen walked away, disappearing into tourist crowds. Amanda stood at the window, looking at Seoul, feeling the trap closing. We got everything, Taemin's voice said through her earpiece. Recording is clear. She made explicit threats. We have her on surveillance making contact. This is actionable. Meet me at the car, Amanda said quietly. The drive back to the penthouse was silent. Amanda's mind spun through scenarios, each worse than the last. Refused Chen's offer, and her family learned everything. Accept, and she became puppet to international interests. Fight, and her grandchildren became targets. At the penthouse, the leadership council was waiting. Amanda recounted the conversation, showed them the surveillance photos, laid out the ultimatum. "This is bigger than we thought," Minseo said finally. "If international consortiums are involved, we're not just dealing with local power struggles. This is geopolitics, global criminal networks. We're outmatched." "Or we're exactly matched," Park Sun-ja countered. "They wouldn't offer partnership if they weren't scared of what we've built. They see us as threat enough to try co-opting instead of destroying." "But they're holding my family hostage," Amanda said. How do I fight that?" "By calling their bluff," Timon suggested. "They threaten exposure to authorities, but that's double-edged. Exposing you exposes their interest in you, creates problems for them. This consortium wants you compliant, not destroyed. That gives us leverage." "What leverage? They have photos of my grandchildren. And we have 6 months of evidence about their operations," Minseo said, typing rapidly. "If Chen represents who I think she does, they have vulnerabilities, illegal activities in multiple jurisdictions, political connections that wouldn't survive scrutiny. We can threaten mutual destruction." "You want to threaten people who are threatening my grandchildren?" Amanda felt sick. "I want to neutralize the threat by making it costly for everyone," Minseo corrected. "Chen offered a deal because destruction wasn't her first choice. That means she has pressure points. We find them, apply leverage, create stalemate where neither side can move without destroying themselves. Then we negotiate from strength, not fear." "That's insane. That's survival." Toman moved to her side. "Amanda, you taught me that underestimated people are dangerous because they have nothing to lose. Now you're underestimated again. They think you'll fold because you love your family. But you're not just a grandmother. You're a revolutionary who survived Detroit poverty, spousal neglect, widowhood, and building an empire in 6 months. Use that." Amanda wanted to believe they were right, wanted to think strategy and leverage could protect everyone. But fear sat heavy. What if we're wrong? What if fighting back gets my grandchildren hurt? "Then we make absolutely certain we're not wrong," Park Sun-ja said. "We research this consortium, identify vulnerabilities, build ironclad leverage, create scenarios where hurting your family hurts them more. We don't act until we're certain of victory." "How long will that take?" "Less than 24 hours, Minseo said confidently. "I'll work all night if I have to. We'll know everything about Dr. Chen and her employers by morning." The council dispersed into action. Amanda sat in the war room they had created, watching her people work to protect her family, and felt something complex: gratitude for their loyalty, terror at the risks they were taking, and underneath it all, guilt that her choices had created this danger. "Stop," Taemin said, reading her face. "I can see you spiraling. This isn't your fault, isn't it? I chose revolution. I chose power. These consequences are a direct result of those choices. These consequences are the result of powerful people feeling threatened by what you've built. You didn't make them extort you. You made them scared. There's a difference." He pulled her close. "Amanda, you've spent 6 months learning to be powerful. Now you have to learn to not feel guilty for that power. Your grandchildren aren't in danger because you're bad. They're in danger because you're effective. That doesn't make it better." "No, but it makes it survivable. We protect your family. We neutralize this threat. We keep building. That's how we win." Amanda leaned into him, feeling simultaneously supported and terrified. 6 months ago, she'd been invisible and safe. Now she was powerful, and her grandchildren were being surveilled by international criminal organizations. The surge had costs she hadn't fully calculated, but retreat wasn't an option, not anymore. She'd come too far, changed too much, built too much to surrender because someone threatened her. She just had to be smart enough to protect everyone she loved while refusing to become puppet to forces larger than herself. Small ask for a 69-year-old revolutionary. By morning, Minseo had answers. Dr. Sarah Chen works for a group called the Artemis Collective, international criminal consortium focused on elder exploitation, nursing homes, estate fraud, medical billing schemes. They're branching into power structures. Your surge program represents both competition and opportunity. They want to co-opt it before it challenges their elder exploitation operations. They exploit elderly people and want me to help them expand? Amanda felt rage building. Exactly. The partnership they're offering is lie. They'd use your model to identify vulnerable elderly people, then exploit them instead of empowering them. Your revolution would become their recruitment tool. Over my dead body. That's option 2, Minseo said grimly. But here's the good news. Artemis Collective has significant vulnerabilities, political connections in 3 countries that wouldn't survive exposure, financial arrangements that violate international law, and their leader, a woman named Victoria Sterling, has personal secrets she's paid millions to keep hidden. What kind of secrets? The kind that destroy political careers and criminal empires simultaneously. Minseo pulled up files. We leak this. Artemis collapses. Chen loses her leverage. Your family stays safe. And we create powerful enemies who know exactly how we hurt them. Taemin looked troubled. Mutual destruction keeps them from acting, but it also keeps us in permanent standoff. Is that sustainable? More sustainable than becoming their puppet, Amanda said. What are our other options? They spent the morning wargaming scenarios. Each had risks. Each required choices Amanda wasn't sure she could make. By 2 p.m., they decided on a strategy. Meet with Chen, present their leverage, negotiate stalemate with option for future cooperation if Artemis changed their exploitation model. It was risky. It was complex. It required Amanda to walk back into potential danger with only evidence and strategy as weapons, but it was the best option they had. At 2:45 p.m., Amanda took the cable car back to Namsan Tower. This time, she carried more than a wire and a gun. She carried files documenting everything Minseo had discovered, evidence that could destroy the Artemis Collective. She felt simultaneously terrified and calm. Dr. Chen was waiting at the same window. Mrs. Wheels, I hope you've made a wise choice. I have. Amanda pulled out her phone, showed Chen the files Minseo had compiled. Your employers are the Artemis Collective. They exploit elderly people for profit. They want to use my revolution as recruitment tool for their exploitation schemes. I'm declining their offer. Chen's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. That's unfortunate. Is it? Because I have comprehensive evidence of Artemis's illegal activities, political connections, financial crimes, personal secrets about Victoria Sterling that would destroy her if made public. You expose my family, I expose your organization. Mutual destruction. Stalemate. You think you can threaten us? I think I can ensure that hurting my family costs you more than leaving them alone. Amanda stepped closer. I'm not interested in destroying Artemis. I'm interested in being left alone to build my revolution without interference. You want to empower elderly people instead of exploiting them? Partner with me legitimately. You want to keep running exploitation schemes? Stay out of Seoul and away from my family. Choose. Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then, this isn't over. It is, unless you want it not to be. I have evidence uploaded to multiple secure locations with dead man switches. Anything happens to me or my family, everything goes public. You leave us alone, we leave you alone. Simple. Victoria won't like this. Victoria can learn to live with disappointment. I did for 69 years. Amanda tucked away her phone. Tell your employers that Amanda Wheels is off the table. Find someone else to exploit or recruit. I'm done being threatened. She walked away, heart pounding, but steps steady. Taemin's voice in her earpiece. Chen's on her phone, looking stressed. I think it worked. Amanda didn't respond until she was in the cable car heading down. Then, did we just create a powerful enemy? We created a stalemate with an enemy who already existed, Taemin corrected. They can't touch you without destroying themselves. That's as safe as this world allows. Amanda wanted to feel relieved. Instead, she felt exhausted. Another threat navigated, another price paid for power, another reminder that the surge came with consequences that rippled beyond her control. That evening, the Leadership Council celebrated their victory. Amanda participated, accepted congratulations, smiled at the right moments, but inside, she felt hollow. Later, alone with Taemin in the penthouse, she finally voiced what was eating at her. How many more times? What? How many more times will threats emerge? How many more enemies will I have to outmaneuver? How many more prices will my family pay for my revolution? Amanda sat heavily. This is the pattern now, isn't it? Build power, attract threats, protect family, build more power to deal with threats, attract bigger threats. It's infinite escalation. That's the reality of power, yes. Then I'm exhausted thinking about it. I wanted to surge forward, to matter, to be powerful, but I didn't anticipate that power means permanent vigilance, permanent danger, permanent prices. No one anticipates that. You just learn to live with it. Taemin sat beside her. Or you decide the prices are too high and you step back. That's always an option. Is it? Can I really step back now? With 20 women depending on me, an empire built on my strategy, international attention on my revolution? Stepping back doesn't erase what I've built. It just makes me vulnerable to people who'd exploit it. Then you don't step back. You shoulder the weight and keep moving forward. His voice was gentle. Amanda, there's no perfect answer. Power has costs. Safety has costs. Revolution has costs. You chose the costs of power and revolution over the costs of invisibility and safety. That choice has prices you're discovering in real time. But the alternative had prices too. They were just slower and quieter. I'm not sure which is worse anymore. Neither. Both. Different. Tamin took her hand. You're exhausted and scared and processing trauma. That's normal. But exhausted and scared doesn't mean you made wrong choice. It just means you're human, bearing the weight of choices that would crush most people. Amanda leaned against him, feeling tears she was too tired to cry. I miss being invisible sometimes. I miss when the biggest threat was bill collectors and the biggest choice was which expired food to buy. I miss simple. You'd be dying if you'd stayed simple. I know, but dying slowly is sometimes easier than living dangerously. She closed her eyes. I'm just so tired, Tamin. Tired of threats. Tired of prices, tired of being strong enough to survive things that should destroy me. Then rest. Actually rest. Not strategic pausing, but real rest. Let me and the council handle operations. Let your revolution run without you micromanaging. Let yourself be human instead of always being revolutionary. I don't know how to do that. You're learning. These past weeks, accepting help, restructuring your role, acknowledging limitations. That's you learning to be sustainable instead of just surging. He kissed her forehead. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to keep choosing to live instead of choosing to die, even when living is harder. Amanda nodded against his chest. Choosing to live. That's what the surge had always been. Choosing the hard, dangerous, complicated version of life over the easy, slow death of invisibility. She just hadn't anticipated how hard that choice would keep being. But she'd made it. 6 months ago. Every day since. She'd keep making it. Even when she was exhausted, even when the prices felt too high, even when being invisible seemed easier, she'd keep choosing to live. Because the alternative wasn't an alternative anymore. It was just surrender. Eden and Amanda Wheels had survived too much to surrender now. 3 months after the Artemis Collective standoff, Amanda stood in the Surge program's new training facility and watched 30 women learn to weaponize their invisibility. Park Sunja led the session, her voice carrying authority earned through successful operations and Amanda's mentorship. The program had expanded beyond Amanda's wildest expectations. 50 women now, ranging from 58 to 81, former nurses, teachers, accountants, mothers, all dismissed by society as irrelevant, all discovering that decades of accumulated wisdom made them dangerous in ways young operatives couldn't match. You're smiling, Minseo said, appearing at Amanda's elbow. I'm proud. They're incredible. They are, and it's because of you. Minseo watched the training. 6 months ago, this didn't exist. Now we have women across Seoul transforming from invisible to essential. That's legacy, Amanda. Legacy. The word felt strange. Amanda was 69. Legacy was supposed to come at the end, after a life well lived. But she'd crammed her living into 6 months of intensity that felt like years. How are you doing? Minseo asked quietly. Really? Amanda considered the question honestly. Better than 3 months ago. Worse than I'd like. The nightmares have decreased but haven't stopped. I'm sleeping better but still hypervigilant. I've delegated effectively but still feel guilty about not being essential to everything. She smiled slightly. Progress with complications. That's called being human while building revolution. Messy but normal. Sometimes I wonder if normal is achievable for me anymore. Define normal. Minseo's voice was challenging. Normal for whom? Normal like you were at 68, invisible and dying slowly? Or normal like most people, living quiet lives that don't threaten power structures? Neither of those normals was working for you. So I created abnormal that does work. You created authentic that happens to be abnormal by society's standards. There's a difference. Minseo turned to face her fully. Amanda, you're a 69-year-old black woman who runs criminal operations and built a revolutionary movement empowering elderly women. Of course, you're abnormal. Abnormal is the entire point. Amanda laughed, genuine, surprised. When did you get so wise? When you taught me to see power in unexpected places. Minseo smiled. I was dismissed too, young woman in male-dominated criminal world, told to be quiet, look pretty, handle finances without questioning strategy. You showed me that being underestimated was weapon, not weakness. You changed my life too. The words hit Amanda unexpectedly. She'd been so focused on the costs of the surge, her family, her sleep, her moral complications, that she'd forgotten the benefits. The women she'd empowered, the systems she'd changed, the proof that dismissed people could be revolutionary. Thank you, Amanda said quietly. I needed that reminder. You need lots of reminders. That's why you have a leadership council. Minseo's phone buzzed. She checked it, frowned. We have a visitor. Unexpected. She's asking for you specifically. Who? Says her name is Michelle. Amanda's heart stopped. Her daughter, here, in Seoul, at their operations facility. What do I do? Amanda felt panic rising. You decide if you want to see her. I can have her escorted out. Or you can meet her. Your choice. Amanda's mind raced. 3 months since Michelle's email choosing distance. 9 months since their last real conversation. Seeing her daughter meant confronting everything Amanda had been avoiding. The family she'd lost, the mother she'd been, the chasm between who they each thought Amanda should be. Where is she? Front entrance, with her children. The kids are here? Amanda felt simultaneously thrilled and terrified. Emma, Michael, and Rebecca, they look... Minseo paused, curious. Michelle looked scared. Amanda took a breath, de-steadied herself. I'll meet them. Somewhere neutral. The conference room on the 2nd floor. No weapons visible, no operations material. Just furniture and windows. Are you sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. The walk to the conference room felt endless. Amanda checked her reflection in a window. She looked professional, put together. Nothing obviously criminal. Just a woman in expensive business casual who could be running any kind of organization. The lie felt necessary and insufficient. Michelle stood when Amanda entered. She looked older, tired, worried. The children clustered behind her. Emma, tall and serious at 12. Michael, curious and energetic at 9. Rebecca, shy and small at 6. Amanda's grandchildren, in her operations facility. Staring at the grandmother they barely knew. Michelle? Amanda's voice came out steadier than she felt. Mom, Michelle's voice cracked. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have come. But Emma kept asking about you and I didn't know what to tell her, and I thought, maybe if she saw you were okay. She trailed off helplessly. Grandma, are you a spy? Emma asked suddenly. Amanda blinked. What? Daniel said you do dangerous work. Michael thinks you're a spy. Is that true? Amanda looked at Michelle, who looked miserable. Then at her grandchildren, who looked genuinely curious rather than scared. How did she answer this? I'm not a spy, Amanda said carefully. I work with people society overlooks. I help them discover they're more powerful than they have been told. Like a teacher? Rebecca asked softly. Sort of. Like a teacher for people who've been told they're too old or unimportant to learn new things. Mom said you ran away, Michael said. Did you run away from us? The question hit like a bullet. Amanda knelt so she was eye level with him. I didn't run away from you. I ran toward myself. For 69 years, I'd been shrinking smaller and smaller until I felt invisible. Then I came to Seoul and discovered I didn't have to be invisible anymore. I could be big and loud and powerful, but that meant I had to leave behind the person I'd been pretending to be. Do you not love us anymore? Rebecca's voice was tiny. Amanda felt her heart shatter. I love you so much, all of you. Your mother, your uncles, you 3. You're why I survived the hard parts of life. But loving you and being the grandmother you needed me to be, those became different things. I chose to be authentic over being comfortable. It doesn't mean I stopped loving you. Then why didn't you visit? Emma's voice was accusatory. Why didn't you call? Why did you just disappear? Because I was afraid. The confession came easier than expected. Afraid you'd see what I'd become and be scared or disgusted or ashamed. Afraid I'd lose you by being honest. Afraid that being powerful meant I couldn't be your grandmother anymore. That's stupid, Emma said bluntly. You're still you. You're just doing different things. Amanda laughed, surprised. You're right, that is stupid. But fear makes people stupid sometimes. What exactly do you do here? Michelle asked quietly. This building, these people. What is this? Amanda chose her words carefully. I run a program that helps elderly women discover their power. Society tells them they're finished, invisible, irrelevant. I teach them to use that invisibility as strength, to think strategically, to protect themselves and others, to matter in a world that's decided they don't. And that requires... Michelle gestured vaguely. All this? Organization, resources, structure? Yes. Amanda stood. Michelle, I'm not going to lie to you. What I do exists in gray areas legally and morally. But it's not evil. It's giving people who've been dismissed their lives back. It's revolutionary in ways that make powerful people uncomfortable. Are you in danger? Sometimes. But I'm also protected, capable, making choices with full understanding of consequences. Are we in danger? Michelle's voice was small. Amanda thought about the Artemis Collective, the surveillance photos, the constant vigilance required to keep her family safe. I've worked very hard to ensure you're not. There have been threats. I've neutralized them. You're protected in ways you don't see and won't see. But you're protected. That's not comforting. It's honest. Amanda met her daughter's eyes. I can't promise you comfort. I can promise you truth. This is my life now. It has risks and complications and moral ambiguity, but it also has purpose and power and community. I'm not going back to being invisible, but I'm also not abandoning you. I'm just being authentic in ways that make you uncomfortable. Michelle was quiet for a long time. Then, the kids want to know you, the real you, not the grandmother I tried to preserve by keeping you at distance. And you? I'm terrified, but I'm also tired of choosing comfort over relationship. Michelle's voice strengthened. You're my mother. You're infuriating and incomprehensible, and apparently running some kind of revolutionary organization in Seoul, but you're still my mother. And I want my children to know their grandmother, even if that grandmother is complicated. Amanda felt tears threatening. I don't know how to do this, how to be grandmother and revolutionary, how to let you in without exposing you to danger, how to be authentic without terrifying you. Neither do I, but maybe we figure it out together. Michelle glanced at the kids. They deserve to know you're alive and powerful instead of just absent. And you deserve to be known by people who love you even when they don't understand you. What about Daniel? Daniel needs more time. He's angrier than I am, but he might come around eventually. Michelle moved closer. Mom, I'm not saying I approve of whatever this is. I'm not saying I understand or condone your choices, but I'm saying I love you. And love is more complicated than approval. Amanda pulled her daughter into a hug, feeling something in her chest that had been frozen start to thaw. I love you too, all of you. I'm sorry I disappeared. I'm sorry I let fear keep me from letting you see who I've become. The kids joined the hug, awkward and sweet. For a moment, Amanda was just grandmother, not revolutionary. Just mother, not criminal strategist. Just a woman who loved her family despite the complications. Can we visit again? Emma asked. I'd like that, but Amanda pulled back to look at them seriously. You can't tell people where I work or what I do. It's not secret spy stuff, but it is private. Can you do that? The children nodded solemnly. Michelle looked less certain, but nodded too. Then yes, visit again. I'll show you Seoul. We'll do grandmother-grandchildren things, and maybe you'll understand that being powerful doesn't make me less loving. After they left, Amanda sat alone in the conference room and felt something she hadn't felt in 9 months. Hope. Not the explosive energy of the surge, but something quieter and deeper. The possibility that she could be both and instead of either or. Revolutionary and grandmother. Powerful and loving. Dangerous and human. It wouldn't be easy, and it would require boundaries and honesty and constant navigation, but it was possible. She wasn't just the surge anymore. She was Amanda Wheels, revolutionary, grandmother, complicated human being, and maybe that was enough. Taemin found her there an hour later. Minseo said your family was here. They are. It's complicated but hopeful. How do you feel? Amanda considered. Like I'm integrating instead of fragmenting. Like the pieces of me I thought were incompatible might actually coexist. Like being powerful doesn't mean I have to lose everyone I love. That's good. It's terrifying. Amanda stood, moved to the window. Because now I have more to lose, more people to protect, more complications to navigate. The surge was simpler when it was just me exploding forward without attachments. But lonelier. But lonelier, she agreed. I'm learning that sustainable revolution includes relationships, includes being grandmother and revolutionary simultaneously, includes all the messy human complications I tried to leave behind. Is that bad? It's harder, but it's real. Amanda turned to him. I'm done fragmenting myself, done being either or. I'm both and now. Revolutionary grandmother, dangerous woman who loves her grandchildren, criminal strategist who wants to be known by her family. All of it. That's complicated to sustain. Everything worth doing is complicated. Amanda felt clarity settling. I spent 69 years being simple, invisible widow. It nearly killed me. I spent 6 months being simple the other direction. Just surge, just power, just revolution. That was killing me too. Maybe sustainable is complicated. Maybe that's the point. Taemin pulled her close. Then we sustained complicated together. Together, Amanda agreed. They stood in the conference room as Seoul's lights started twinkling in twilight. Amanda thought about the 6 months since she'd walked into Taemin's club, asking for one night. About everything that had exploded, burned, been built, been lost, been transformed. She'd wanted to matter. She'd gotten revolution. She'd wanted to be powerful. She'd gotten complications. She'd wanted to surge forward. She'd gotten sustainability. It wasn't what she'd expected, but it was real. And real, complicated, messy Amanda was finally enough. 1 year after the surge, Amanda Wheels stood in the training facility watching Park Sunja lead a session for the program's newest recruits. 23 women this round, ranging from 55 to 79. Former mothers, teachers, nurses, accountants, all dismissed as irrelevant, all about to discover their power. They remind me of me, a voice said. Amanda turned to see Ji-yeon, now one of the program's senior instructors, hungry, scared, ready to explode. They remind me of all of us, Amanda corrected. We were all dismissed, all underestimated, all hungry for purpose. How many now? Ji-yeon asked. 87 women actively participating. 32 more in preliminary assessment. We've expanded beyond Seoul, Busan, Daegu, 3 other cities. Amanda felt pride without the desperate need to control everything. The surge is spreading. And you're okay with that? Not being essential to every operation? Amanda smiled. I'm learning to be. The Leadership Council handles daily operations. I focus on strategy and mentorship. It's sustainable instead of explosive. You seem different, more settled. I'm integrating instead of fragmenting. It's slower but more honest. Amanda watched the recruits learning defensive tactics. A year ago, I thought power meant being indispensable. Now I know power means creating systems that survive beyond me. Very philosophical for someone who started by shooting people. Shooting people taught me philosophy, specifically that violence is quick and strategy is lasting. Amanda turned to Ji-yeon. How's your family handling your involvement? My daughter's horrified. My son's intrigued. My grandchildren think I'm secretly cool. Ji-yeon laughed. It's complicated but honest. Better than when they thought I was just fading away. That's what we're building. Complicated, honest power instead of simple, invisible death. They watched the training in comfortable silence. Amanda's phone buzzed. The encrypted one. Time in. Council meeting in 20 minutes. Expansion into Tokyo being finalized. Amanda texted back. On my way. The expansion into Tokyo was Minseo's project, partnered with local organizations who wanted to replicate the Surge program. It meant the revolution was becoming international, self-sustaining, bigger than Amanda. It terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. The Leadership Council had grown to 9 members: Amanda, Taemin, Minseo, Park Sun-ja, Hyunwoo, Ji-yeon, Mir, and 3 women from other cities who'd proven themselves strategic and trustworthy. They met weekly, making decisions collectively instead of Amanda bearing everything alone. It was slower, more complicated, but sustainable. Tokyo's ready, Minseo reported. We have committed partners, funding secured, training facilities identified. First cohort of 20 women starts next month. Concerns? Amanda asked. Cultural differences, legal complications, but nothing insurmountable. We've adapted the program for Japanese context while maintaining core principles. Elderly women weaponizing invisibility, accumulating power through strategic thinking. Opposition. The Yamada-gumi clan is watching carefully, but they're intrigued more than threatened. They see potential partnership instead of competition. Amanda nodded. A year ago, she would have controlled every detail of Tokyo expansion. Now she trusted Minseo and her team to handle it. Recommendations? Proceed carefully. Build relationships before operations. Establish legitimacy before expanding. Minseo smiled. Same principles you taught us. Those principles came from 69 years of surviving by being invisible. Now we're teaching women globally to weaponize what nearly killed us. Amanda felt the weight and wonder of that. This is bigger than I imagined. That's what revolution does, Park Sun-ja said. Starts as personal explosion, becomes movement, then transforms culture. The meeting continued, covering operations across 5 cities, financial sustainability, legal protections, long-term strategy. Amanda participated fully, but didn't dominate. Her role had evolved from doing everything to ensuring others could. It felt like losing control and gaining legacy simultaneously. After the meeting, Taemin found her in their apartment. Not the original penthouse, but a place they'd bought together, designed for living instead of just operations. How are you? Tired in a good way. Satisfied without being desperate. Human. Amanda kicked off her shoes, settled on the couch. Is this what normal revolutionaries feel like? I don't know. Most revolutionaries burn out or die young. You're doing something unprecedented, sustaining revolution past the initial surge. Is it still revolution if it's sustainable? Yes, just different kind. Not wildfire consuming everything, more like controlled burn that transforms landscape permanently. Taemin sat beside her. You changed the game. Amanda proved that dismissed people, elderly women specifically, could be powerful if given resources and permission. That's transforming criminal organizations globally. That's real revolution. It feels less dramatic than the beginning, because you're not running on pure adrenaline anymore. You're actually living instead of just surging. He took her hand. How's your family? Michelle visits monthly with the kids. Daniel still hasn't come around, but he's not actively hostile. I have regular video calls with the grandchildren. They're fascinated by Soul and grandmother's mysterious business. Amanda smiled. It's complicated but honest. They know I do dangerous work. I know they don't fully understand, but we're choosing relationship over comfort. And the nightmares? Less frequent. Maybe once a week now, instead of nightly. My therapist says I'm processing trauma instead of just accumulating it. Amanda had started therapy 6 months ago, regular sessions with a woman who specialized in moral injury and didn't ask too many specific questions about Amanda's work. That's progress. Slow progress, but progress. Amanda leaned into him. A year ago, I walked into your club asking for one night of feeling alive. Look what that became. Do you regret it? The question didn't hurt anymore. Amanda had asked herself hundreds of times over the past year. Her answer had evolved from defensive certainty to honest complexity. I regret the costs, she said carefully. The people I killed, the relationships damaged, the innocence lost, the constant vigilance required. Those are real prices I'll carry forever. But I don't regret being alive. I don't regret discovering my power. I don't regret this revolution. The costs were real, but so was the necessity. At 69, I was disappearing. Now I'm vital. That's worth the complications. Even with the nightmares, the threats, the moral ambiguity, even with all of that, Amanda met his eyes. Because the alternative was slow death by invisibility. I'd rather live dangerously and complicated than die safely and quietly. You've changed the world, Amanda Wheels. I've changed my world. That's enough. They sat together in comfortable silence. Through the windows, Soul glittered. City they'd transformed in small but significant ways. 87 women who'd been invisible now had power. See hundreds more worldwide about to discover the same. That was legacy. That was revolution. That was the surge transformed from personal explosion into sustainable movement. Amanda's phone buzzed, the regular one this time. A message from Emma. Grandma, can you teach me to be powerful like you when I'm older? Amanda's heart swelled. She typed back, You're already powerful, sweetheart. I'll just teach you to recognize it instead of hiding it. Emma. Mom says you're complicated. Amanda. The best people are. Emma. I think you're cool. Don't tell Mom I said that. Amanda. Secret kept. Love you. Emma. Love you too, even though you're mysterious and scary sometimes. Amanda showed the exchange to Timon, who smiled. The next generation sees you clearly. They see me without needing me to be simple. That's gift and responsibility. You'll teach them well. I'll teach them honestly. That's all I can offer. Amanda set down the phone. Power has costs. Revolution requires sacrifice. But being authentic is worth it. That's the lesson. Heavy lesson for a 12-year-old. She'll grow into it, just like I did. Amanda stood, moved to the window. 69 years of accumulation before the surge. Then 1 year of explosion and integration. Now sustainable revolution that might last beyond me. That's the arc. How does it feel? Terrifying. Exhilarating. Human. Amanda turned to face him. A year ago, I was fragmenting, trying to be either invisible widow or pure revolutionary. Now I'm integrated. Powerful grandmother, dangerous woman, strategic leader who acknowledges limitations. It's complicated, but real. Real is better than simple. Real is harder than simple, Amanda corrected, but harder doesn't mean wrong. They stood together watching Soul's evening emerge. Amanda thought about the year since she'd walked into that club, about everything she'd lost and gained, about the surge that had saved her and nearly destroyed her, about learning to be powerful without being monstrous, revolutionary without being destructive, authentic without abandoning everyone she loved. It was possible. Just barely. Just with immense effort and constant calibration, but possible. What do you want now? Timon asked quietly. A year into this revolution, what's your next desire? Amanda considered honestly. I want sustainability. I want the surge program to outlast me. I want my grandchildren to understand their grandmother was complicated but authentic. I want to keep being powerful without losing my humanity. I want to prove that 69-year-old women can change the world and still be grandmothers. That's asking a lot. I'm 69. I don't have time for small asks. Amanda smiled. Besides, I've already proven the impossible is possible. Now I'm just proving sustainable revolution is achievable. And if it's not, then I'll have tried honestly instead of just surging recklessly. That's enough. They went to bed early that night. Amanda slept deeply, no nightmares interrupting. She woke to Soul's morning light feeling rested in ways that had nothing to do with hours slept. She'd integrated, finally. powerfully, messily, real-ly. The surge hadn't killed her. It had transformed her from invisible widow into complicated revolutionary grandmother, from dismissed woman into dangerous leader, from person who'd been told she was finished into person, proving that 69 years was just beginning. It wasn't what she'd expected when she walked into Taemin's club asking for one night. It was better and harder and more honest than she could have imagined. And Amanda Wheels, revolutionary, grandmother, criminal strategist, complicated human being, was finally at peace with all of it. The end.